It's my pleasure to introduce two great gentlemen that are going to help bring us back to where we belong. We started this process shortly after the season was over. We wanted to make sure that we took our time, that we were thorough, to find the best combination of people for a head coach and a general manager that can work together and bring this organization back to the pinnacle. There's a lot of work in front of us. You know, there's certainly not a lot of time to celebrate on just making a hire. It's now time to get to work, and I'm going to turn it over to these guys to introduce themselves, and then we'll turn it over to you guys for questions.
Thanks, Jed. You know, I first want to thank everybody for coming on out today. I must take a moment to show my appreciation to Jed, Danielle, the entire York family, for really showing the confidence in Kyle and I with this awesome responsibility of the task of bringing the 49er organization back to where it belongs, and that's competing for championships. I also want to thank my family, starting with my wife, Linda, and my kids. They were going to surprise me today and fly up here. She was pulling the kids out of school. They got fogged in San Diego, so unfortunately they aren't here. But you know, it was a big change for them, and it was important that they bought in, and they're incredibly excited. And so I want to thank them. I also want to thank everybody who I was working for at Fox. They were incredibly classy with the way that they handled this whole situation. They saw the opportunity. They saw my excitement and got behind what I was doing. So I want to thank all those people. That being said, today's about the future of this team. And Jed talked about it's time to get to work. The work's already started, and we're having a lot of fun putting this thing together. People who know me well will tell you that I'm not into a whole lot of promises, but I will make a few. And I've been pretty clear in saying that this week. Kyle and I are on the same page that we're going to put together and assemble a team. And how long that takes, you know, we don't know. But we're going to assemble a team that will make you proud. I can promise you this. We're going to have players that will compete every day, that will compete to be the best that they can be. They're going to be great teammates. We're going to have a team that plays fast. We're going to have a team that plays physical. We believe in those things. And we're going to have guys with great character, football character, and we're going to have guys that are interested in making their community a better place. That's important to Kyle and I, and it's important to Jed. You know, I could not ask for better partners in the process and the challenge that lies ahead. And Jed and Kyle, this thing moved pretty quick. We were just in a gathering back there, and you know, I think it surprised everybody how quick it went. But like I said to the folks back there, when I decided I wanted to marry my wife, that went pretty quick too, and that's doing pretty well 23 years later. So I trust in that. I think when you know, you know. I understood what a great organization this was. I had the opportunity to play for Bill Walsh at Stanford, and really just was enamored with the 49er organization, all it stood for. Mike Shanahan came before that. It was Denny Green, who was very involved in the 49ers and knew the 49er way. Mike Shanahan had spent time here, and we talked about the standards of performance, all those things. And that's what I very much believe in. But Jed's passion, we just kept checking boxes on things that we were aligned with in terms of how you do build a championship football team. The same thing can be said for Kyle. You know, with Kyle, I think he's one of the brightest minds in the game. He's proven that, I think, every step of his career. He had a big challenge because his dad was kind of a big deal in this league. But Kyle, I think, to me, he's a guy who soaked in all the knowledge and experience of being a coach's son, but then went out and did it on his own and has become his own man. This year, he engineered one of the most prolific offenses in the history of football. The Falcons led the league in almost every offensive category. He was named Assistant Coach of the Year by 3 esteemed outlets. He's not only a smart football man, but he's a leader who sets the tone through his work ethic, I like it because I like what Kyle represents because he's convicted. He knows what he wants, and he's going to find a way to make that happen. I think he's innovative. I think he's aggressive. Those are all things I believe in. What Kyle and I talked about from day one, that this needed to be a partnership. That we saw the fact, through doing a lot of his broadcasts and getting to know him, that we saw football in a very similar light. We see life in a very similar light. And we understand that this has to be, everyone's got to be rowing the boat together in the same fashion, from the cafeteria to the equipment room to the locker room, all the way up to the front office. I see all my guys in the front office up here who have been hard at work in that room. They've already made me proud. And that's what it's going to take to get this organization back. So all these qualities, in speaking about Kyle, is why I really believe he's the perfect head coach to lead this team on the field, and why I look forward to working alongside him for a long time to get this place back to where we're competing for championships. And with that, no further ado, it's my pleasure to turn it over to the 20th head coach in the history of the San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan.
Thanks, John. Definitely going to be tough to follow all that, but I got to start out by thanking Jed, and the whole York family. Giving me this opportunity it's a dream come true, and it's not just an opportunity to be a head coach, but to be a head coach at a place like this, where you talk about Bill Walsh, you talk about George Seifert, Steve Mariucci, Jim Harbaugh. You can go down the line with the coaches, and you go back to the history of the players. Before I get into that, also definitely thank my wife sitting up here, Mandy, all my kids who are back at home. I also got to thank the Atlanta Falcons. What they've done for me in the last 2 years, it's been great. And starting with Arthur Blank, Dan Quinn, Thomas Dimitroff, entire coaching staff there, and all the players. It was 2 special years, and it helped me get to somewhere I've been trying to get to my entire life, and I can't thank them more for that. Talking about the 49ers, though, it's always been a special part of my heart. And I moved out here in 6th grade, and I moved away from here to move to Denver at the end of my freshman year in high school. And I had 3 good years here, and I have a very high expectation of what I've always thought this franchise is, and that was the best franchise in sports. And I remember spending all my summers up in Rockland as a ball boy. Had a little roll-out bed in my dad's room that I would spend. Back then, training camp was about a month long, and our connecting roommate was Bob McKittrick, who I was a ball boy for the line the entire time there. I remember staying up every night playing ping pong with John Taylor, who took me 2 years to beat him. And then after I did, then he finally told me he's going to start using his right hand. And then I realized I never was able to beat him. But guys like Harris Barton, Tom Rathman, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, just all these guys have really they've been a big part of my life, even though I was only with those guys for 3 years. It's just those are the guys I looked up to and the guys I wanted to be. Had a hard time being them as a player, even though I tried my hardest. It was much easier as a coach to be involved with this stuff, and to be back to this, what I've always known the Niners to be. I can't wait to have the opportunity, and we owe it to the fans and everyone out here that together we bring it back to what it was, and I'm very confident we're going to do that. And wasn't ever just going to, I want to be a head coach my whole life, but it wasn't something that I was just going to do. It's something I'd like to do forever, and the only way you can do that is if you have a good opportunity to win somewhere. And that starts to me with the owner and the commitment of the organization, and getting to know Jed through the interview process and hearing him talk and getting to know him as a person and what he's committed to doing. It gives me a ton of confidence in where we're going. And it's not easy to win in this league. It's not easy at all, but when you have everyone going the same direction, that's what gives you a chance. And for Jed to allow John and I to come together and bring us in at the same time, and to be here with John, it's nothing's guaranteed, but I always bet on people. And in regards to this situation, I know I got 2 guys sitting next to me who our intentions, no matter what it is to do things the right way, to commit to the right people, to work extremely hard and make the right football decisions. And I keep things pretty simple in my life. I try to. There's really 2 things that are important to me, and that's my family and it's football. And that's really all the things I think about. And as sad as that is, it's true. And that's all you guys will get from me. And, you don't always make the right decisions, but I can promise you guys, we're going to do everything we can to do that. And we're going to hold people accountable. We're going to do it the right way. Everybody who's in this, from the top to the bottom, is going to have be going in one direction, and that's what does it take to win now, and what does it take to consistently win over the long haul. And we will be committed to that 100%. And I could sit up here and talk forever, but I'm sure you guys would have a lot more fun asking questions. So we'll get that started.
Okay, we're going to pass microphones. Again, please introduce yourself and give your outlet as well so that they can start to know you. And front right, or second row right.
Matt Mayoko, CSN Bay Area. Kyle, you have one job one day. You have a new job the next day. How much time did you take after the Super Bowl to reflect on the Super Bowl, and how will that experience help you in this particular job?
You know, it was actually it was a special thing to go through, and obviously you guys know the result of that, which wasn't easy, as hard as anything I've gone through. And what was really cool about that is, you know, most head coaches who've been in that situation, they're usually at their next spot the next day. And you know, Jed told me to take my time, and he allowed me to take a day and a half before I came out here. I was definitely grieving it, and I probably will for a while, but you know, to be able to go up to the building in Atlanta the next day, get to talk to all the players, all of us spend some time together, go through it again, really gave us some closure on it. And you know, we put our heart and souls into that season, into that game. We did everything we could, and I know the results weren't what we wanted. You got to live with that, but real proud of the coaching staff, myself, the players, that we did as good as we could. We had no hesitation, and we let it all out there. And you got to live with the results, but that's why we're in this business. You got to take the good with the bad, and I'm just very happy that I was a part of it.
Front right here.
Nick Wagner, ESPN. Jed, you talked to roughly, 15 people throughout this process for both jobs. When you got feedback on the team and the organization, what did you maybe learn about your team that you didn't know, and how did that inform your decision to hire these two?
I don't know that that's what informed my decision to hire these two, but certainly talking to people, and I think they saw where we're not where we should be, you know, and we need to get better. And I think that's very clear. And I think in talking to Kyle, you know, he was very direct with what he wants to do with the team and how he wants to build this thing and get it right. And he knows that he's going to have the leeway to do that. He's going to have the time to do that. And we need to make sure that we commit to building something that we're going to all be proud of when it's all said and done.
We've got Phil Barber front left.
Jed, Phil Barber, Santa Rosa Press, Democrat. 6-year contracts for coaches and GMs are not that common in this league. Some might even see it as a risk from a business standpoint. What convinced you to make that commitment to both of these men?
I believe in both of these guys. And, you know, I mean, similar to the last question, you know, we aren't where we want to be. We're a 2-win team right now. And we need to make sure that these guys have everything that they can to get this thing up and running. And I believe in these guys, and, you know, I think they're going to be here a lot longer than that.
Second row right.
Tim Calicami, Mercury News. Kyle, there was a report that after the Super Bowl you were telling people that you blew it. Is that accurate? And is that something you, I mean, to be cliche, that you learn from, you take to this job, and maybe there things that you say you're going to remember from that, certainly the fourth quarter, that you take into this job? Of
course. I mean, I remember every single play, and I will go over those for the rest of my life. That's kind of the life we live as coaches, and it's magnified in the Super Bowl, but it's also that case in every game. And I was informed of that report actually a few hours before I came in here. I don't know if I use those exact words, but that sounds about how I talk. It's, when you're the coordinator of an offense or you're the head coach of a team, you're responsible for what happens out there. And if a play doesn't go right, if a player misses something, that starts with the offensive coordinator when you're on offense. And I did believe we had a very good chance to win that game, especially at the end. And we didn't get it done. In terms of when you use the words "I blew it," I don't look at it that way. I believe we missed an opportunity, and we didn't get it done. I'll go back through every play through that for the rest of my life. But I talked to our players about that the night before the game in terms of people. It's human nature when you get in big moments like that to lock up, to hesitate, to try to take the easy way out, make sure you don't get blamed. That's something that I wasn't going to do and people on our team weren't going to do. It's we played that game how we played the entire year, and we thought I called plays in that game the way I have the entire year. Doesn't mean I'm always right, doesn't mean they're always going to work, but I promise you I prepare as hard as I possibly can. I always do what I believe is right. with our coaching staff and the players, and then you live with the consequences. And yeah, it's going to be hard living with that loss. And every play that didn't work, I regret, as always. But I can deal with it because I can look at myself in the mirror and know I did what I thought was right at the time. And that was the most important thing to me. I didn't change because of a circumstance. I did what I thought was right. And whatever happens, if you do what you did that was right and you believed in that because of the preparation you had, then you should be able to live with the consequences.
Front row left.
Yes, Mark Purdy over here, Kyle. Mark Purdy, Mercury News and the Bay Area News Group. It's no secret, Kyle, that one of the big decisions this franchise faces in the upcoming season is at the quarterback position. Understanding you probably can't or don't want to talk specific names, I'm interested in general. Who would you like to see starting at quarterback for the 49ers this season? A rookie that you could mold. B, someone who's played quarterback in the league this season and might be available either by trade or free agency, or C, maybe a guy who's been a backup in this league that has not received a chance to start. If you could just give us any indication of how you would rank those choices, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty easy answer because it's the same for that position as any position. You want the best player possible, and there's not one absolute answer to that. Everyone wants the best quarterback in the league. Everyone wants the best left tackle in the league, the best receiver. That's what you're always trying to find, and that's what you are always looking for as a personnel staff, and that's what you're always hoping to get as a coach. You don't get those options every year. That's why you have to look into the draft at every single possibility. You have to look into free agency and every single possibility. You have to look at possible trades and every single possibility, and that's why there is no off season, because there's so many possibilities, and there's no absolute way on how to find that in this league. But there's different options each year. We have to find out every single one of those options, and then you evaluate those. And whatever you think the best option is that gives you the best chance to win now and in the future, that's what my A is, and B and C. And there is no exact answer. You have to see the options, and you rank those differently every year. It depends what your choices are.
Third row right behind Tim.
Vern Glenn, KPIX TV. As you evaluate the quarterback position, are you looking at a good decision maker, or are you looking at somebody that can essentially make all the throws?
No, and you guys are probably going to get annoyed with me this a lot because I really never speak in absolutes. You take the best possible scenario. Everybody wants, I always joke around about it, but as a receiver, I hope to find 6 Julio Joneses who could do everything.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen. You got to find what the best options are. The people have won in this league being pure throwers and can make every throw in the pocket. People have won in this league making plays with their legs. There's been tall quarterbacks who've made it. There's been short quarterbacks who've made it. There's lots of ways to do it, but you have to find out what characteristics make someone successful. And when you do feel that they have certain characteristics, when you're talking about the quarterback position, whether it's their intelligence, their mobility, just their throwing ability, then you got to think of, all right, how can I put a scheme together that allows him to use those traits? And does he have the players around him to allow him to use those traits? And that's how you start to package things together. You don't just get to build your player like you want on Madden, how it goes. You got to see what's out there. And everyone has different things, and you rarely get the full package. And if you find a guy who has the full package, then you do whatever it takes to get that guy, and you don't think twice about it. But that's easier said than done. There's not many of those people on the planet. So there's lots of ways to be successful. Never can a quarterback do it by himself. So it's important that you have someone who can handle the pressure, who can do it week in and week out, and also has the ability to do what you're asking of them. But it also is going to take a very good cast around them.
All right, front row center.
Grant Cohn, Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Kyle, other than your history with the 49ers from your childhood and the franchise's prestigious history from the 80s and 90s, what made this job attractive to you? Why did you want to come here?
I believe that they're committed to winning. When meeting with Jed and talking to him, it was really the first time getting to meet him and having 2 different interviews with him, spending a lot of time with him. Everything that he said was as good as I could hope for. And just like Jed said, I didn't go into these interviews just trying to get a job. I went into these interviews being very honest. I have been around this business a lot my whole life, but especially even coaching, and I've been in a lot of different organizations, and there's lots of things I believe that are important to consistently win, and to be able to talk to Jed realistically where we thought the team was at and where we thought it could go, and to not hold anything back, and to see how he reacted, and to understand his commitment. And then when a guy does is committed and gives you a 6-year contract and shows that he's willing to give you some time. And well, what I don't want to do is come here and make a bunch of decisions just trying to win to save ourselves right away. And I want to win the first day and to the last day. I want to do everything possible to do that. But I also want to make the right decision for the organization. John wants to make the right decision for the organization. And in order to do that, you got to do it the right way. And we'll see what resources are available out there. We got a lot of good draft picks. We got a lot of money in free agency to spend. But you don't just go do that to do that. You got to make sure that you make the right decisions. You build it the right way. Everyone's goal is to win right away. But the main goal is to build a team that you can win consistently. And that's what our goal is. And when you have an organization that shows you that you're confident in them as people, you can talk to them that way and trust them as humans. And they also back that up with the contract situation they gave us together. I can't think of a better situation for ourselves.
Second row center. Okay.
Kyle Ann Killian with the San Francisco Chronicle. It's February 9th, which is kind of late to be putting together a staff, and I'm just wondering how far along you are in the process and when do you expect to have that completed?
I love it, Z.
Very bad form.
We're gonna work. That's the first thing that I'm trying to do is finish the staff up. Definitely as behind on that as you can be, and that's just the way it is. I wish I could have started earlier, but getting to play in the Super Bowl is a pretty cool thing also. So it's something that you got to deal with, but that's something I'm going to be doing here nonstop. We're not there yet. We're getting closer, but nothing's finalized. But that's something that got to get done a lot sooner than later.
Second row middle, Eric.
Jed, Eric Branch with the San Francisco Chronicle. John had talked about one of the, at least down in the list of his reasons for wanting to keep his interviews secret was the fact that he'd heard about a culture of leaking information from the 49ers, and he wanted to see if you and Parag could keep that information private. He also said he had a very good job. He wasn't desperate to go anywhere, and so therefore he asked very direct questions. Just wondering, as far as those direct questions, did he address leaks in that culture, and has it made you reevaluate anything?
No, I mean, we talked about a lot of things openly and directly, but I don't think we delved deeply into that. He brought up some of the media reports of that being an issue, and obviously nobody knew that we interviewed John. It didn't come out, and I think that speaks to the culture that we have in this building. I think it's very important to make sure that the things that we do together, we want to make sure that we are open and transparent, but there are a lot of things that are going to happen with the three of us that are not discussed with anybody else. And, that's where the give and take has to be between us and the media and the fans of ultimately, I think our fans want to have a Super Bowl parade down Market Street. And we're going to do everything that we can to get to that. And everything might not be perfect along that path. But if we work backwards from that, we will be open with the fans. We will be open with the media. But there are a lot of things that we're going to be doing together, and we're going to have to keep those in-house.
Second row left, Kevin.
Kevin Lynch with San Francisco Gate, and welcome back to the Bay Area to both of you guys. And this is a question for both of you. Who's going to have final word on free agency, the draft, 90-man roster, 53-man roster? How does that break down?
Well, we committed, Kevin, to nice last name, by the way. I like that. We committed to truly making it a partnership, and I think the roles as they're defined are reflective of that. I can tell you Kyle has control of the 53. I have the 90, free agency and draft. I think I have, but in all of those, it's also written that, subject to approval of the other guy. And so that's the way we wanted it. That's the way we wanted it reflected, but that's the reality of it. That's the way when we started having these discussions, I think why they went so well is because that's what both of our motivations were. I think we've both seen places where it works, and that's the situation you have. We've seen places that it doesn't work, and you've got friction, and that's not what we were all about. But, Kyle?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I didn't want to pass up this opportunity. I mean, when it comes down to the 53 and the 90, a lot of that's just something you have to put down on paper, and it's stuff that helps you out if stuff goes really bad. If stuff doesn't go really bad and you're working with the right people, it usually isn't something that comes up. And to have an opportunity where an owner gives you a chance to come in with a GM and to make sure that we both meet together before they do it. And it's that's what made this so special. You don't get that opportunity much in our business, and it's something that I never really thought I would get that opportunity. And when seeing that you had an owner who understood how important that was and gave us that opportunity, that's something that I didn't think it was something I could pass up, because that is special, and that, like I said, it's very hard to win in this league, but you have a chance if you're all going the same direction.
All right, second row middle.
Cam Inman, Bay Area News Group. John, with you being in charge of free agency and kind of leading the charge with that, if I was a free agent player right now, what would be your recruiting pitch to me on why I should come here?
You like winning, because we're going to do that. You like doing things the right way, because we're going to do that. I'm looking at former players out here. I see Keena Turner. I see Paris. I believe that's Eric Wright. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Guy McIntyre, Jesse Sapolo, Steve Bono. Anybody else in here, former player? Those guys created the standard that we're striving for. I've reached out to a lot of these guys and let them know that not only are they welcome, we really want these guys around, because that's what we're aspiring to be. I've also told them we can't ride on their coattails. We understand that we have to earn their trust as well. We understand that we have to put in the work. That's the only way you do it. You go about your business every day and try to get a little bit better. And so that's important to me. That's important to us. But that's what I would tell a free agent player. I'd also tell them you've got a head coach that's going to put you in the right position to be successful. I think that's one of Kyle's great skills. He takes players and he plays to their strengths. And I think that's what great coaches do. They play to the strengths, from the way he worked with Robert Griffin in Washington to the way he adjusted to Matt Ryan and really pulled every ounce. He lets players max out by putting them in optimal positions. And I think that's the mark of a great head coach.
I think when you look at also what excited me so much about John is, and John had a pretty good deal before coming here. And, and I remember when he told me that, why he wanted to be a general manager, and just he really missed someone winning and losing at the end of a game. And he enjoyed doing the announcing and being a part of the NFL, but that the fight to go through something with a group of guys and what we go through together, and it is not easy.